The NBA draft lottery might actually be rigged. I know it all started kind of as a joke throughout NBA history, but we have now clear evidence that it's not exactly unreasonable. Some key examples include the 1985 envelope with Patrick Ewing to the New York Knicks, making sure LeBron stays home in 2003, and making sure that Derrick Rose also stayed home in Chicago for the Bulls in 2008. Now, the draft lottery has always been up for questions because people have believed that the system has been unfair from the start, with the fact that they don't actually broadcast the dropping of the balls on TV, considering they do it behind locked doors in a back room behind the stage. But the 2025 NBA draft lottery might be some of the biggest evidence that we've ever had that the lottery might actually be rigged for ratings, and that the NBA as a soap opera is exactly what they're going for. When the Luka Doncic trade happened in February at the trade deadline, people are speculating that this was a deal under the table between Adam Silver and the NBA to make sure that the ratings went up, telling Nico Harrison to trade Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers, and in return being rewarded with a Cooper Flagg draft lottery win in May. Now it is May, and the draft lottery has just concluded, and it looks like Cooper Flagg is going to be a Maverick. So this brings the question, was this the plan all along? I'm not saying that the draft lottery is 100% rigged, but I will say that we've had quite a few suspicious coincidences over the years, including, like I've said, the Patrick Ewing envelope, LeBron staying home in Cleveland, Derrick Rose staying home in Chicago, and most recently the 2019 Zion Williamson draft to the Pelicans. Anthony Davis seems as good as gone with the trade request to the Lakers, and then the Pelicans win the lottery surprisingly and move all the way up to number 1 to get the next quote-unquote generational talent in Duke Zion Williamson. And just last year with Victor Wembanyama, the Spurs have their worst season since the Tim Duncan draft and once again win the lottery for a generational big man. This is just some pretty suspicious stuff for a league that is clearly struggling with ratings and needs to do anything they can to stay in the news. As an NBA fan, I obviously will still watch the game no matter what, but this definitely brings some questions about the legitimacy of the NBA draft lottery. Even LeBron James called it a coincidence, jokingly, he said while laughing, to keep LeBron home in the 2003 draft lottery. If he, out of all people, is not convinced that this is rigged, then I think we should all be pretty convinced that it's not exactly out of the realm of possibility. Nico Harrison seems to have just been blatantly bailed out by Adam Silver and the lottery gods, and now they will have a chance to rebuild their franchise. I will say I'd like to give a shout out to Mavericks fans because they've had a rough couple months leading up until today, so good for them. They finally do get something going their way after the struggles they've had since the trade deadline. But when it comes to Nico Harrison, I think a lot of fans can say that he did not deserve to be bailed out here. Look, I'm not saying the NBA draft lottery is actually rigged, but what I am saying is that we as fans definitely see that things are getting a little suspicious, and have been throughout the history of the league, dating all the way back to the 1985 Patrick Ewing draft. We've had multiple cases of questionable foul play with the draft lottery and how things are shaped up, and I wouldn't exactly say that it's all been fair to the teams that have actually been bad those years, where how they've ended up in the draft lottery, and how some teams have surprisingly jumped up to have their season and saved. I'm sure a lot more people are going to be wanting to see this happen in front of the cameras instead of behind closed doors going forward after another year of questionable decisions. Thanks so much for watching.